Welcome, everybody. This is Activities Across Grade Levels. And this week we're talking about simple video editing, which is another level of fun and cool that if you haven't quite gotten into, oh my, are you about to see some serious fun with regard to what you can pull from your students and their possibilities for ramping up a little academic game. We always like to start with a proper thank you. Thank you. Who are we thanking? We're thanking you, as it works out, and some other folks as well. All the good folks from Fowler Unified, Susan's crowd, yay, way to go, woo. Yay. All the good folks up in Jerome, hey, up there. Yay. So all the Fall City people in Jerome High School and Summit Elementary, good to see you guys as well. We need to actually do some further thanks. One will be to my good buddy Richard Byrne, who has worked with me over the past few months on the two EdTech guys take questions and share cool stuff situation. Our webinar will kick into gear again at the end of July, beginning of August. So feel free to watch for that. Plenty of back episodes just in case you need to binge something a little different on our site, and you'll get a link to that as we go. As we meet you, all right, today we're going to start with the new face in the group. We are so excited to have as a guest host. Remember those shows where they'd be like guest star, and you know, there'd be a name you never heard of?
Oh yeah. That would be like right before it said a Mike Todd production or something like that, right?
So, something along those lines, right?
Yeah.
But this time we got somebody you might have heard of, and that is somebody that I just love to spend some time with. Probably one of the least boring human beings I know. Ladies and gentlemen, Jon Corippo.
Woo, woo, fake applause, fake applause. Glad to be here. Do screenshot this slide. It has my Twitter handle and the most important part. And I think Les can, by the way, Les, I just tweeted your chat message. Free lifetime tech support. So if we go a little fast or you can't find the button when you go to do the thing, call me later. I will help you till it works.
Righteous. And of course, at the end of all of this, you're going to get an email. So like several hours after this ends, boom, an email pops into your inbox. It's got the link to the recording of our little shindig happening at the moment. It will have info that you might want to use, such as how to get registered for next week's version of this same gig, which is going to be Activities Across Grade Levels, tips and tricks for using Zoom and stuff like it. So that will be next week. And who will be there next week? One of the people who will be there is certainly Susan. Susan, introduce yourself, please.
Hello, friends. My name is Susan Stewart. I'm an instructional technology teacher on special assignment. Say that 5 times fast. From Fowler, California. I spent 14 years teaching the primary grade, so kindergarten and second grade, before I've been able to be the support person for 125 amazing teachers in my district of Fowler. So I'm really excited to be here talking about video editing skills with some of the most amazing educators I know.
And you'll hear a little more from Susan about her work at the very end when she tells you about the fantastic hashtag K2Can2 that if you don't know about, you will want to stick around and learn of. My name is Rushton Hurley. My work was formerly as a high school teacher of Japanese language. I was a middle school teacher of video production. I did my time as a principal, as somebody who led up a school of K-12 folks, and then an online high school, which was interesting work. And now I run a little nonprofit, and that nonprofit is called Next Vista for Learning. You find it at nextvista.org. What is that, you ask? Glad you asked. That would be not that, but this, which is an online library of videos by and for teachers and students everywhere, free to use, free to contribute to, free to download from, all for a student audience, all screen content, my own little attempt to save the universe from ignorance, one creative video at a time. Ding! All right, so feel free to give that a look and see what you think, because we got lots of stuff in there that I hope you would get quite excited by, the kinds of things that students and teachers create to help others. So how is this going to work today? Well, like every week, we go to some trouble to say, so there's this theme we've got, and what does that look like in terms of how we talk about it with the youngest set, so our K2 crowd? And then what does it look like when we talk about it with our grade 3 to 5 crowd, a little upper elementary action? Then today, we're gonna just kind of mix the middle and high school together and talk about some different possibilities there with our own Edu Protocol guru, who happens to be sitting in the house. So that is how it's going to work today. And let's start with those little kiddos and just find some cool stuff to tell you. And Susan, I believe you have some cool stuff to share.
Absolutely. So just like anything in the early years, our goal is to set some foundations, right? We want to give them some basic skills so they can grow from there. So when we get started with video recording, we just want to kind of build some vocabulary and ways to talk about videos. We want to talk about the angle of the camera. We want to make sure, and you can have fun and play with it. I talk about it often, I don't want a video of just this part of your mouth, just to really framing it out and talking about how you can make sure there's space all around your head, or making sure that everything is very clear and visible. Talking about the angle framing, making sure that we encourage them to sit still, little things like that, and enunciating their words. We can talk about speaking clearly. I love Seesaw for this reason. They provided this poster on their website that just has kids go through those steps. I'm going to think about what I'm going to say. I'm going to start recording, going to use my speaking voice, pause, and turn it in. So just having those very clear expectations to think what you're going to say, so we're not going before we hit, just as we hit record. Just getting out there. When we start talking about editing those things, the most powerful camera they have is the one that's in front of them. So if the camera they have is on an iPhone or a tablet, anything we can do to get them started with filming themselves with those considerations, know that a lot of those have some basic editing tools. Just being able to snip off the beginning or the end, little things like that right within the native tools of the device. But of course, if you've been around, I mention Seesaw just about every week as a way that we can capture videos as well. So a lot of the times Seesaw might be an activity that is pre-completed, but it actually has an option that will just record the student straight on as a video camera tool. And of course, by using Seesaw, they now suddenly have an audience, whether that's the audience of the teacher, the peers, the family. So it's the creation of the video and the sharing of the video all in one. Then as we continue on, we know that we can do something simple like this. Here we are in this environment, this crazy learning environment we're in right now, and kids are on camera all the time. How about we use some of those embedded tools within our Zooms or our Meets to capture the learning that kids are sharing? I know some of my kindergarten teachers have been doing their traditional show and tell. Maybe it's a theme-based show and tell where they have students hold up their item and describe it. So we could use the recording features of Zoom to capture those little snippets of the students doing their presentations. And of course, watching them back and giving students some feedback language to speak to each other about their videos. I noticed that Juan spoke very clearly. I heard every word he said, and letting them just watch with that critical lens about how we're going to give feedback, and feedback beyond good job, right? I like the way Megan's whole face was showing in the video the whole time. Sometimes just pointing that out and then giving them opportunities to have those feedback-based conversations really is a great way just to get them foundations. Just start talking about what a good video looks like.
Fantastic, Susan, and I love how cool a preview that is for us for next week as well. But let's move it up a grade or 2 or 3 and talk about our upper elementary group.
So without a doubt, my favorite initial editing tool has become Flipgrid, because kids like to record themselves, but we do start finding that kids get very self-conscious, even in upper elementary, where they're afraid of messing up. So that paralysis, oh no, what am I going to do? As soon as you let them know, it's okay. Go ahead and record it, because you can go in and fix up any parts that, maybe you're not feeling the best about. You can re-record. So that freedom to make it better later, right? It doesn't have to be one and done. And I know that's a pressure for students when they feel like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get it wrong, I'm gonna get it wrong. So by using Flipgrid and its really basic editing tools, students can combine multiple clips when they realize they don't have to do it in one take, right? They can snip it up, make it better. And so in this example, I'm gonna have Rushton show you. You can see where a student has used the video editing tools within Flipgrid to just put together a quick little 30-second book review.
Mm-hmm. And you know what I like about that, if I can plus one it, in a distance learning situation, you're still getting connected with the kids. They're doing regular school, and you're also talking up your speaking standards and all those things that ELs and non-ELs need. So it's a really beautiful mix you got going there.
Hi, I'm Kansas, and this week I'm reading Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. What I really like about this book is that there are pictures. Here, let me show you some. I like the pictures because they are so detailed. If you like Harry Potter, then you should try reading the illustrated series. It's awesome.
And I love that piece, like you mentioned, Susan, where they can pause and and get it to look like what they want to. You could tell she had tried a couple times and it flowed, and now it represented what her best view is. And that's a revision which we've been begging for in essays for a long time.
Absolutely. Being able to go back and look at it and say, what's the focus? What am I trying? What's the message I'm trying to share here? And just letting the tools help them formulate that, like make an actual package instead of just one video. So really basic, easy video editor right there in Flipgrid.
Well, please pass along a high five to Kansas for putting that together for us as well.
And I'd like to point out Kansas is using the rule of thirds correctly, which is a high school and middle school term.
Nice. All right. Speaking of high school and middle school, segue points. I believe we're up to John's ideas for us. And so let's jump some of these things into gear. Talk to us, Jon.
Okay. So I'm going to go 30,000 foot level. I've taught video to 6th grade through 12th grade. And what I found is that a lot of times the kids are going to sink hours and hours and hours into their first script. And if you guys know from Edu Protocols, I love some reps, right? So we've got 2 concepts here that can both be done in one period. And Susan, they would work great for littles. I don't know how much you previewed the slides, but these will work great for littles. Is you just give them 4 shots instead of 19. So your cognitive load, you're skinning it up a little bit. And I think you already do this because you're such a great teacher with the circus wagon concept, which is like, what does it take to make a video, a bad one, and just do it? And then not worry about making, because what I see teachers and kids do a lot of times is they make that first project. They think they want to make like Gone with the Wind out of it, that's a really big production. And so part of my idea that I learned over the years with the kids is that we take this quick run at doing things. So these 2 are interchangeable. You can do them whichever order you like. I'll give you a 30,000 foot view and then we'll jump into it. The shooting gallery is basically the idea. There are about 19 of the most common shots in Hollywood. So you've got your mid-range close-up, your extreme close-up. And if you look on the left there, those are some of the common ones, right? Like medium shot. Everybody knows extreme close-up, right? Susan gave us that one earlier. You got extreme close-up, all those kinds of things. Then you move into some of the fancier ones. And one of the ones there on shots 10 and 11 is called depth staging. And that's where you have one of the characters in the foreground and the other one farther away in the background. And then there's planar staging, which this shot doesn't happen a lot, but it happens in Guardians of the Galaxy, Lord of the Rings, and Star Wars. And it's where everybody's all lined up. They're getting their award, right? And then you can see shot 19 there over the shoulder, this is how we shoot conversation. And Susan, you probably see that a lot with your kids, is they do conversations like this. And so it's like character 1, what are you doing? Character 2, I'm going to the dance. And that's not how you do it in Hollywood. They put one person in the foreground and one person in the distance, so it feels like you're there. So basically the idea of the shooting gallery, and we'll get into some more detail. Basically, you can use this with any app. This is Seesaw. This is iMovie. I've even had teachers do it with Keynote and Google Slides for photography classes. And if you look at the graphic organizer there, Rushton, if you can circle that in the middle, and I'll give you a full screen of that in a little bit, you guys. This is the 19 shots. And basically the way the lesson plan goes is the first day of class, the kids go in, I give them the slide deck, and then I give them this list. And they go out and they shoot those shots. And here's the best thing too. They're like, what's the script? No script. This is a 1-period project. You don't got time for a script. Just go shoot the shots. And one of the rules is we all shoot together, but everyone edits. So like if Rushton, Susan, and I were a group of 3, we might do like a little Bollywood action for every shot. We could do it as a chase scene where Susan was chasing me, and we had the different shots in the form of chasing. And they can have a theme, but they don't need to. But basically, kids shoot the 19 shots, and then they arrange them in any order they like, whatever order is pleasing. They get to use each shot once. And when I'm using iMovie, I have the kids put a title. What's the name of the shot? Follow shot, shadow shot, whatever the shot is. But like Susan, I was thinking an easy adaptation in Seesaw is just say what the shot is. So if you had, your little toy and you were saying, this is a close-up, this is an extreme close-up, this is a wide shot. So the kids can literally just say the shot. And what's cool is they're building the academic vocabulary by doing it. So it's super low lift, but it can go as far as you want. Because remember, I taught film up till 12th grade. The 12th graders did the shooting gallery. This was the first project of the year for all grades. If you're a freshman, you're using your phone and iMovie. if you're a senior, and you'll like this part, Rushton, if you're a senior, you're doing the shooting gallery, but you're making a meta video and a training video that the freshmen will use. So they're still shooting all the shots, but they've got a second person shooting what it looks like to be the camera person shooting the shot. So they're doing picture in picture. So their cognitive load is really high. Plus, I don't need to make the training shots for the freshmen anymore. So the last piece of this is when you're done, you have a mini film festival. So each kid watches their little video and the class gives them feedback. And again, I think you'll like that, Susan, right? They're like, hey, that's not really a follow shot. I'm not sure that's really over the shoulder. I'm not sure that's really dark voyeur. I'm not sure that's an appropriate shadow shot for what we're talking about. So then we do what are called pickup shots. And pickup shots are what happens in Hollywood when you finish the movie and you go, oh my gosh, that shot doesn't look that good. So I'm helping kids establish, especially in a film class, the fact that sometimes you have to go back and reshoot a scene. If the audio's bad, the lighting's bad, you do pickup shots. So I'm trying to establish that. I've got that little collage there of all the different apps: Seesaw, WeVideo, iMovie, Keynote, pretty much anything that can process video or stills, you can do this. And then, of course, Flipgrid's a great option because now, guess what, Rushton? In the old days, I prayed every night, it wouldn't be great if every kid had a camera in my class. They do now. Every kid has a camera. It's hooked to their phone. And so they can shoot that shot, pull those clips into WeVideo, cut them up in an order that they find visually pleasing. One period for miniature film festival. So I'll pause there before we get on to the circus wagon concept. Thoughts?
Darn good stuff. I love that we're getting kind of this view on what's possible kind of at the next level. Because if you're a teacher going, oh my God, all these shots, remember that you're looking at this wide range of possibilities. That when you think about a video, it doesn't have to be, it has everything. It can have just one thing. And the whole idea with getting them to do one thing is to help them go, oh, okay, now that we got the one thing, let's add something else.
Yep.
So as you begin to look at these, you might say, oh, but I don't know much about American Film Institute, this and that. Not the point. What you want is to have them talking about possibilities and getting into a discussion of how to give and get feedback in a good way, right? Mm-hmm. When they say, I'm not sure that's an over the shoulder, really what we're saying is, can you tell me more about that shot? What do you think? Mm-hmm. What if it were like this? And then the person receiving the feedback gives the thank you. And they might think, that was awful, that thought. But it doesn't matter because you just say thank you. And then, your job might be part of the assignment to say, I got this meaningful feedback from this person and I chose to do it for this reason, or I chose not to do it for that reason. But remember, it's got to be meaningful. So if someone said, your video, it was awesome. That's not meaningful. There's nothing you can do with that, right? So you got to have something where somebody's made a suggestion. And so building into these different pieces is the frame of how do you just get people making suggestions and working with them in a constructive way? Which brings us, perhaps, kind of in a fashion, to the circus wagon. Keep going.
Yeah. So, and that's a great segue too, because I built this as a film teacher. If I'm a film teacher, we're going to be doing films all quarter, right? But if I'm a language arts teacher, Rushton, how much time do I invest in teaching kids how to do this? And so there's a symbiotic piece of this. If I'm a language arts teacher or a history teacher, and I ask my kids to make a video, and at the end we all kind of go, I appreciate the work, but they're not killing me. So part of my logic with these two lessons is a non-film teacher can get their kids making better videos immediately. And one of my favorite comments that I get almost every time when we're doing the shooting gallery with kids is kids will be, they're editing, Corippo, this is the best video I've ever made. There's not even a script. And that's the best part because I emphasize that, you're using the correct shots so it looks cinematic. So with that in mind, how many teachers have 3 months or 4 months to teach kids iMovie? How many teachers have 3 months or 4 months to invest in WeVideo? And I think this is part of why we're not seeing as much video in class as we three would like to see, because teachers are like, hey, I'm under the gun for time. We got test scores, I got assessments, I got all these things. So both of these, again, I'm emphasizing, are built to be one period and platform agnostic.
Well, let's jump in on that for a minute, because for any teacher out there who's watching this, especially as a recording where you're like, oh, no, I was kind of worried, so I watched this recording. You're not a bad person. Here's the thing, right? You do not have to teach video. Mm-mm. Just don't. You can do a video project and not teach any video at all. Mm-hmm. What's going on? What that is you essentially tell the kids, okay, the one-page paper is due, like 3 weeks from Friday, or If you'd prefer to do a video, that's totally fine. You just need to get the plan approved by me, but don't ask me how to use the software because I don't know. You're on your own. Good luck. Which is totally fine, because if they don't figure out what it is they need to do to be able to get a video to you, which really comes down to, I provided a link as a student, and then as a teacher, I clicked on the link and saw the video. Then they turned it in. If you click on the link and nothing happens, they didn't turn it in. Oh, but there was a technical problem. Yeah, like the dog ate the homework as well. So
actually appear.
What you do is you just say, you send me a link, and if I click it and it plays a video, that can be how you turn this in. And if you're worried that might not work, turn it in a day early, and that's totally fine too. I'll give you an extra bonus point for just being like that way. So all good.
And then I love this one too, which is Rushton comes up to me and says, how do I do a lightsaber? And I go, I think I saw Susan doing that a while ago. You should go ask her. Let the kids help each other. Yep. It's really good for their classroom culture. So you gave me 9 minutes, and I think I'm at 14. I'm just kidding. We'll get into the shooting gallery here. Now the circus wagon. So I was teaching Final Cut, so if anybody that's watching has been like, oh my gosh, it takes forever to learn Photoshop. Final Cut's kind of the Photoshop of video. There's a lot of buttons. You can literally do movies with Final Cut. So there's a ton of options. So what I realized one year, and I don't know if I've ever told you this story, Rushton, but I realized it was late October, and I really couldn't go to my film students and say, make a video. They knew how to use chunks of Final Cut. They knew how to do these things. But they didn't really know how to make a video from soup to nuts, like from beginning to end. So I said, wait a minute, I'm doing this wrong, lesson design wise. So basically the way this goes, and these are the norms of a circus wagon, I give the kids about 40 seconds of footage, one scene, no cuts. I teach them how to ingest. Let's add the footage. I teach them how to put it in the timeline. I teach them how to cut. They're all different. Some say insert cut. Some say B for blade, right? There's little different metaphors. I say make 10 cuts. Let me know when you're done. I say add 10 transitions. I say add 10 effects. I say add 10 titles. I say push on the share and share your ugly project, because the footage is not good. But it only took us 20 or 30 minutes. And Rushton, I can teach people Final Cut in 30 minutes using this method. And I think you'll love the part that's in italics. The worse, the better. Push all the buttons, make it a mess. I want that Indiana Jones transition we're never going to use. I want that Jaws transition we're never going to use. I want to know how bad Kaleidoscope can make your face look. Like, it's about pushing the buttons and being in there. So next slide. So basically, this is the WeVideo version that I linked, but I've got, if people want an iMovie version, I got an iMovie version. I've taught adults how to do this basic plan in 14 minutes on an iPad. And so basically what happens is the same flow. And these are the step-by-step instructions. Drag your clip to video 1. Cutting the footage. Editing has begun. Use the razor blade tool. Make 10 cuts. And then if you mess up, use the Jesus button. Command Z. Bring your project back from the dead. If you are offended by the Jesus button, call it the Lazarus button. And then it's non-denominational, right? It's okay if you made your cuts in the wrong place. Command Z, put it back. And then we start adding effects. And then we start adding, it's just one layer at a time, very linear, right? We're all going to do this. We're all going to do this. And it's a lot like what Susan does so well with the primary kids. One thing at a time until we've got that. Another thing at a time until you've got that. And then after that, I go, what can we make now? And you cut them loose, right? And they're all in Rugrat mode. They're running around doing all kinds of crazy videos. When I did this in my classroom, Rushton, I'll tell you this. We were at take-home high school. I got 3 times more work once I taught kids how to do this, because they would go home and say, I can make a cool video and I don't need any help. And they started bringing me videos going, look what I made this weekend. And I was like, hey, that's not an assignment. And they go, I just wanted to make it because it was cool. That's what I'm going for. So next slide. And then this is just wrapping up the circus wagon bit is, oh yeah, it's not pretty. So for kids to feel safe, and I think you'll like this piece, Rushton, I tell them, when we're done with this video, you'll probably delete it because it's not going to be a good video. This is about getting your brain ready for the flow that we need. And guess what? We're probably going to do another bad video tomorrow. You're probably going to get another A for using all the crappy transitions. And on the 3rd day, we'll be good at this. So we'll have kids do 2 or 3 of those. And then we start getting serious. And then next slide, and that's the last of my official slides, which is, this is not about WeVideo or iMovie or Premiere. It's a mindset. It's a pedagogical mindset. Let's get this thing open. Let's kick the tires. Let's push all the buttons. Let's share it out. And that way we know how to make something from beginning to end. By the way, this is about the 4th day of my class, and my kids are making videos. They're using the right shots, and they start going, I have an idea. I've always wanted to. And that's when it gets really, really good. And Susan, I think I'm going to throw it to you here. These would totally work in Seesaw. Am I wrong? Same concept. Totally works in Seesaw.
Absolutely. Let's push all the buttons and see what does this one do, and then labeling it, or let's show a different example and label it, and putting the words to the process and just giving them that. And then they have the freedom as we start applying the academic components of it. We're not learning how to do it anymore. Now we're just applying what we've learned. Same thing, just, you talk about not being afraid to mess up. This morning, I was working with some of my own teachers, and we had brought up the simple film editor in Screencastify. So in the pro version of Screencastify, there's an editor there too. And it is actually one of the ones, you say film editing sometimes to teachers, and they're just like, yes, that's the face. And so the second you empower them with the ability to snip out their ums and uhs and their flubbed words, giving them that idea that as I'm saying a sentence and I'm speaking my sentence and then blah, blah, blah happens, knowing I can pause. And then I state my sentence again, like that empowerment to go ahead and mess up, because now I know how to just go snip that out. I don't know how many teachers will record a 7-minute screencast, get through 6 minutes and 30 seconds, mess up, and then do it again.
Oh, the whole thing again, yeah.
And I know teachers who've been doing that, and as soon as you show them, you can snip out a section. They're just like,
yeah. The magic of film is you can bend space and time, right? That's the magic of film.
Absolutely. Very cool.
I love that we're really talking about giving kids a vocabulary around what not to do. I mean, how many different assignments, not just film, but anything, where teachers have said, okay, guys, we're going to do this particular project, and here is one single example of what I think is good. Now everybody's trying to mimic the one example. They haven't talked through ways to screw it up, so they screw it up, and there's all kinds of bad things that you have to deal with over and over again because you didn't give them kind of a scaffolding to get there. But there are some things out there that can allow you to add some real variety to this, and so promising resources became Gear Chat. John, talk to us a little bit about what you got.
These are 3 things I'd like to share, and you guys might have some totally other interesting things that riff off of this. Number 1 question I get is, how do you make a green screen? Answer, you don't. It's on a super geeky webpage called Amazon.com. And so they're about $49, but here's my super tech tip. When you select a green screen on the Amazon, you're going to want to get it no less than 8 feet wide. I suggest 10 or 16 because I did this, you guys. I bought a green screen. I was like, this is going to be so cool. And then it turned out it was only this wide. And so when we want to make a karate movie, if you move at all, you're off the green screen. So you definitely want a nice 8 or 10 foot backdrop. Otherwise, it keeps you you got to stay super tight to the camera. Again, they're about $50. They're not super expensive. That's my number 1. My number 2 on green screen is you can literally go to Home Depot and buy the crappiest green color chartreuse you can buy and just simply paint that on a wall and you're golden, right? And if you don't want to mess up your classroom, if you're cool with your principal, you can buy what's called Masonite. It's what the skateboarders use on their ramps. It's about $11 a sheet. You've also seen it as shower board. And if you use drywall screws, you can put that up in your classroom, 2 sheets wide. Now it's 8 feet wide. It's 16 feet. No, it'd be 8 feet tall and 8 feet wide. And just paint it with the chartreuse paint. If you ever want to take it down, it leaves little tiny holes. And now you have a fixed green screen ready to go. So it's super, super simple. So that's my green screen one. The next thing is like my drool-worthy camera right now is the Osmo. So that little thing right there costs about $100. And Rushton, if you can help me explain what a gimbal is, but it's that super fancy thing. When you're running, your camera stays perfectly steady. So that's called an Osmo. It's about, I think they're about $120 for those. And you can clip any phone in it. And now you don't have the whole shaky camera thing. You get 1 or 2 of those for your classroom. It's really cool because you can give it to the kids and they can walk and they get that steady cam look, that really super smooth, silky smooth look they're looking for. But for $100 more, you can get the Osmo with a 4K camera built in. If I was going to buy classroom cameras right now, that's the camera I'd be buying. And I don't need to because everybody has a 4K camera on their phone. But if I wanted to get a camera, it would be that one. And then the last thing I would like to share is the upper link there is called Switcher Studio. Now this is $39 a month, but it's my favorite one. But if you're going to do like a newscast, imagine this, Rushton. You got a kid doing their mixing on an iPad between 6 iPhone cameras over your Wi-Fi. That's a totally different setup. A lot of teachers think you need to spend $80,000, $100,000 on a studio. That's not accurate. You can literally have a main iPad. The other phones get linked up over your Wi-Fi, and you can really literally do this. Susan, how's it going in the lunchroom? John, I'm proud to report the cheese sandwiches are safe. Excellent news. Rushton, how's the play coming? And we can cut from camera to camera to camera, just like a real news or CNN type of source. And each kid's camera is being used as an IP source. Or buy yourself a few iPod touches and put them on the school network, and now you have cameras that you can use that way too. So those are things I would like to share.
Awesomeness. I will add to the chat and to the links that I send out the ever fun video, How Not to Get a Prom Date, one of my favorite videos on nextvista.org. And what that means is that when kids are thinking about explaining something, anything, whether it's getting a prom date or how to do, how to do this particular equation, in your math class, whatever it is, if they get a chance to explain how not to do it, that actually gets us a lot farther in terms of the depth of understanding the concepts. So, how not to teach is pretty much not to care, but that's not who we are. We care. So what we do is we care for our kids, we care for their learning, and in order to do that well, we care for ourselves. So I hope you're using your summer as a way to generate a lot of cool ideas, to kind of get your energy back, to get excited about the cool possibilities related to online teaching, because there are cool possibilities. The chances are really good you're going to be doing online or hybrid this fall. I mean, really, really, really good that that's what you're going to be doing. So find the things that excite you. And who are those kids that didn't do all that well in the classroom because the social dynamics were such that it kind of held them back, but now they're thriving? Can you move a couple more kids into that category? There are lots of possibilities for this. And if what we're doing right, we're going to be reaching more kids this way. It is not easy. It is not easy at all. But there is room to make cool things happen. And you learn about such cool things through things like my newsletter I send out every month. Woo! Shameless plug there, right? And what that is stuff that's free to watch or to read or to try, even listen to. And I send it out about the first of every month. At least that's my good intention. And give that a look. And if you ever read it and you think, oh my God, he writes like he speaks, then you can just click, like unsubscribe and no offense is taken. But I think you'll like it. And so just stay in touch with me on that front. Happy to help you out there. I have a blog at Inspiring Improvement, how to help teachers and school leaders make what they do all the better. Written some books on becoming a better teacher and making your school a better place personally and professionally. And from the National Catholic Education Association, released last December, Technology, Teamwork, and Excellence, which is a bunch of short chapters on how to use tech to make your team a better team. And no matter what kind of school you're in, I hope that's something you will take a look. And if you're kind of like, hey, I want to do that with my leadership team, we're going to do a little book study. Would you connect with us and talk about it? Sure. How much you charge for that? Free. You bought some books. You're so nice. Happy to help. So if you have some questions, feel free to toss them into the chat. What we're going to do is we're about to end the recording. However, we stick around and talk to you folks who are kind of like, I got a couple of questions, because Les has added some good things in there. I look up, a bunch of other cool things that are popping in there as well. We would love to keep talking to you. Susan.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. If you want to contact me, I can be found on the Twitters at Tech Coach Susan, because I'm Susan and I'm a tech coach and I'm not very creative that way. Tech Coach Susan, you see what I did there? Also, you can follow the hashtag K2Can2. And what that is, it's that idea that our littlest learners can do so much when we put the tools in their hands and give them opportunities to show what they know. Sometimes there's just this assumption, oh, they're too small. They can't do that. But really what you'll find on that hashtag is a lot of teachers proving that idea wrong, because they really can.
And my name is Rushton. I am just a guy who likes to see really cool things happen and to learn about those cool things and to share those cool things with others. And what we end up doing as a part of these webinars, because you're going to find hours and hours and hours of stuff that Susan and I and Richard and I and cool people like John have come over to help us with. Therefore, you feel free to get on the site and take a look around. You're going to get an email later today telling you a little bit about how to get into that. I hope you'll give it a look. We certainly hope that you are having kind of the best possible summer as things kick into gear for you, that you are coming up with some really cool ideas along the way, and that we will see you next week.